Hello, everybody. This is the What is on the Tabletop podcast, and my guest today is not only a regular of the Creature Caster conference, but also a master of very weird things. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Brett, also known as Quarantine Miniatures. I make creepy little dudes.
Yeah, you make creepy little dudes and a lot of. Well, let's talk about the question you put up on your Instagram today. And that is a miniature you made recently. Let me throw it up for the viewer.
hmm
Where are you not? You are not sure if you want it to be a chaos spawn, a complete chaos spawn, or a mission marker. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And when I first saw it, I was like, "Yeah, that's a mission marker." But then I thought a bit more about it. I was like, "It would be cool if it was a chaos spawn, like a moving blob, and it basically moves this pillar with a statue on with it, but it's really a part of it." And it twists and turns like it is looking with this statue, because what I really like is what you did with some other project, the fact that something that should not be alive is very alive, and that is a horror concept that might work quite well with this kind of miniature.
Yeah, it's sort of like the I don't know the name for it, but the sort of the monk who would carry the reliquary into battle, but like a really messed up version of that.
A really messed up standard bearer.
Yeah, basically a blob man with a statue embedded in him. But I'm very indecisive person. So a lot of the time I just throw things out to a vote on Instagram, and we'll see what's
Yeah, now you
the
let the
best
unwashed masses
massive
decide.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I come to like the idea that this column really is a part of the spawn, and it is a living part of the spawn, like an extension of it, and not just a piece of um, rock it carries around with it itself. Because looking at your Garden of Nurgle, you have this
Mhm.
very, very cool face that has a hole in it, and you put some very flashy and eye texture in it. And this is what I was talking about earlier. You have something that should be an object, but it is full of unexplainable life.
yeah. I don't know where it was, like a picture on Pinterest. That's where a lot of my ideas come from. Is just looking up stuff on Pinterest. But there was something on Pinterest where there was like an obelisk or a monument, and there was like something inside growing out of it. And I had this piece of terrain that has a head, but I didn't have the face anymore because I used the face for my great unclean one. And I was like, oh, that's what I'll do. I'll make a weird flesh tunnel in it. Yeah.
Sometimes life can be so easy when it comes to conversions. But before I go on a little bit into the history of chaos spawns, when did you start out the hobby?
I think first started. I got the I don't remember. It's called like the Battle Games in Middle Earth, like the Lord of the Rings models, and they came out with like there was the magazine, and you would subscribe, and each week you'd get a magazine and a couple of models, and there'd be like lessons on how to. Do you know that thing?
Oh yes, I remember it. It was a great influx of players
Yeah,
and people interested in the hobby. I didn't know that my FLGs had these sets, and
yeah.
a toy store not far away had them too, but it added some extra pricing to it, which was not as it was intended. I mean, Games Workshop stuff is expensive to some degree, and making it more expensive is not a good choice to promote it.
No, but yeah, I started doing that because I was in my like early teens when that came out. So I did that for a while, and then when I was about, I don't remember exactly, maybe 18 or so, I sort of started getting into 40k. Played. I started making a Death Guard army, converting it up. Um, and then when I was about 19, 20, I sort of, you know, as you do, as I hear a lot of people have done, they sort of, you know, discover like, you know, clubs and booze and whatever else, and painting little
That
toy
dreaded
donkeys.
social life.
So I stopped doing it for a while. I sold everything, which I now regret.
Oh
And
yes,
there's a
same
couple of
here.
models. There's one or two models that I wish I'd kept. The rest of it I don't really care about. But and then I got back into it 5 years ago ish. I had sort of been thinking about it for a while, and then found out a friend of mine was sort of uh, getting back into it, so I got back into it as well, and then that was pretty much it. But
Okay,
it
so
was like full time back into it, way more than I ever was.
yes, I can very much relate to that. Uh, did you get to know the old Chaos Spawn, the old Metal Chaos Spawn that consisted out of a lot of bits and basically a body that had holes for the bits?
I actually have one. I've got one for my Death Guard because I got uh, maybe 2 3 years ago. A friend of mine was clearing out his shed and found a bunch of Warhammer that he had from like the early 2000s, and was like, here's like 3 big tubs of stuff if you want it. And it was like a whole bunch, like a whole Empire army, a whole Orc army, because it was all fantasy stuff, a whole, and like a massive Chaos army. So I got a bunch of old Plague Bearers and an old Spawn, and I
Yeah.
sold most of the rest of the stuff because it was not really my thing. I kept all the Empire stuff because it's good for Inc 28 conversions.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have thrown up the bits of the old Chaos Spawn right now because it was basically you did not play Chaos Spawn for a long, long time because they are first in the rules they were very slow and their damage output was very inconsistent. But as a Chaos player, they were a great bits box. What the Fury is seeing right now, I'm just uh, well, you know it. You have these tentacle arms. You had different head. You had different tails. You had different
Mm.
legs. Some kind of insectoid leg, some kind of reptilian leg. And what I like the most, I don't see it in the picture. Is this bit not in the picture? Ah, sad. Okay, it was a hand that was holding an eyeball, and I remember the third edition Chaos Marine Codex where someone made a Death Guard Plague Marine with this arm holding the eyeball and sculpted, and the person sculpted some kind of armor plates over his face, so
Mm.
he would only see with this eyeball. And moving along in history, we would get then the new Chaos Spawn that I also have on my Instagram, which was a progress in the oh look, this looks very evil and menacing and less like this claymation monster. uh, Not that much options for the chaos player to use it. You could use it as a pet for your chaos lord, which was a nice idea but made no sense because it would slow your chaos lord down. And
Yeah. Well, because when I stopped playing, when I was like 18 or whatever, it was fifth edition when I stopped. And when I first came up with this idea for my all spawn, I was talking to, because most of the games and stuff I play at my local Warhammer store, and so I'm friends with the manager, and I was talking to him about it, and I said, it's not going to be a good list. It's all spawn. It's going to be absolutely crap. And he pointed out to me, he's like, spawn aren't as bad as you think they are based on. I'm remembering them being terrible, but they're not terrible anymore. I mean,
No,
look,
not anymore. Well, we got a plastic chaos spawn, which are a little bit in between. They look. I did not buy any of them because they're looking a little bit too goofy to me. They are
yeah,
they are missing a lot of, I don't know, sharp edges, and
mm,
this what the second metal chaos spawn did was basically having a human it developed out of on its back. You had a very struggling, torn face, looking in pain,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
arms and the legs were malformed on this giant blob that was pulsing with maw and muscle, and that made it such a great, Chaos Spawn are, I think, one of the most 40k things there are, but they are very underappreciated because of
mm,
maybe their rules. And
yeah, yeah. Their rules used
nowadays
to be
they
terrible.
might have a comeback.
Mm. Well, once, yeah. Were you saying that like the standard kit does look goofy? One of the things I'm trying to avoid is that thing that you see people do sometimes with Chaos Spawn, which is essentially just a ball of green stuff that's been rolled around in a bits box. That sort of look that some people do for their spawn,
Yeah,
and
a very fast and unclean approach, yes.
yeah, just like a writhing mass of tentacles and limbs. Like that's cool, that's creepy, but I'm going for less. I'm going for a more disturbing creepy rather than like gross creepy.
Oh, yes,
You know,
the one
yeah,
just has
a
to
big,
look at your work to see that. And
yeah,
I
a
can
random mass of tentacles and spawn bits doesn't say body horror. It just says noise.
Yeah, you had. Well, I just throw up the group picture of your first all spawn squad, which is a good example of what you did with your chaos spawn, and
Mm,
I think we can. Well, first of all, what really captures the body horror of the old Chaos Spawn might be the one that basically carries the body of its host in front of itself.
yeah,
That I like very very much. It is this I'm in pain and but I'm basically a flesh puppet hung
yeah.
from a so much stronger and
And
creepy,
one of my
insane
favorites. Yeah.
muscular body.
The idea was like, yeah, it's the idea that the entire spawn is grown at the back of his head, but it's essentially just two creatures that have the same head. They just share a head.
Yeah, just some Siamese twin, and then of course what I like very very much that is well you called it the Pantoroborus
Yeah. Pentauroboros demon.
Pantoroborus demon, the danger donut, the wheel of
Yeah.
misfortune, so to say.
Yeah. Well,
It
that
is.
came from Smash Bash. I
Yeah.
saw Smash Bash, which was a challenge. Uh, I am completely blanking on the name of the person who put it together.
Shout out to Smash Bash, whoever
Yeah,
created it.
I'm blanking on it. But it was make a weird creature sort of thing, and I came up with that idea, and I really liked the look of it, and I was like, well, what could I use it as? And I figured, it's about the same size as a spawn, and it makes sense for a spawn. and I'd had ideas because my plague bearers are pretty sort of I follow do the same sort of design philosophy of body horror, messed up things. But there's only so much you can do. Like certain things, and they stop looking at all like plague bearers. I mean,
Oh
obviously you can
yeah.
do anything and just tell your opponent, yeah, this is a plague bearer. But I like to make it obvious so you can still easily tell. But if you call it a spawn, you can do it whatever you want. Like literally whatever the fuck you want. It's the spawn. It doesn't matter. So that's why I was like, I might just do a whole army of spawn, just as an excuse to make monsters. Because I find it hard to make models if I know I'm never going to play a game with them.
So
That's,
it is
not that I play a lot, but
the old Spawn army is is a sincere project of yours.
yeah, it's just an excuse for a creative outlet to get these things out of my head.
Oh,
Because this
yes, and
fucking
you got quite a lot of them. I mean the horse guy running on the scything talons and having arms
antler,
for
yeah.
ears, so to say. That is one of the more easier ones I think you did.
Yeah, that was just some tin foil and then some Tyranid bits and some arms, basically. Like this. There's not a lot to that one.
Yeah, the alien ones also sticks out. Well, xenomorphish one that has the umbilical cord.
Yeah, it's dragging its.
Oh, have I lost you? Tech test. Oh no, we have lost our guest. Hello? There was a crack. Maybe something with your microphone.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you again. There was the dreaded crack again. Please talk. No, now you're gone again. You might have something going on.
Hello? Can you
Yes,
hear
I hear
me?
you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I moved weird and ripped my microphone out of my computer. Sorry.
Okay, we're back. We're back again with stories of weird creatures, very weird creatures. And we were
Um,
talking about the xenomorph who carries basically the body that birthed it.
yeah, it's just dragging its placenta along behind it.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, yeah, why not? Because that was originally I was thinking of maybe making that like a leader plague bearer or something. Like having a plague bearer dragon placenta and having it be
Hmm,
like a HQ choice or something. But then once I decided to make spawn, I was like, oh, that's what I could do it as.
that's definitely a spawn. Uh,
Yeah.
did you? Well, you said it is an excuse to make horrible monsters, but would you go so far and give these Spawn a background story, or are they failed champions? Are they just demons? Are they maybe very too successful champions, which many people forget can also happen because chaos gives and gives, and if it does not stop giving, you're a chaos spawn.
Yeah. I don't really have a backstory for like each individual spawn. Um, I do usually like doing sort of stories for my spawn. I've got a sort of loose lore in my head, but it's mostly just around the sort of warband as a whole. So I wrote up a bit of a blurb for when I put up the painted picture of the leader of the spawn, and that's basically it. That he is the Black Shepherd, just sort of this like campfire legend among the Chaos warbands of this creature who appears and sort of whenever someone turns into a spawn, this thing appears and whisks it away off into the night, and no one really knows what its plans are, where it comes from, like who it was before it became this monster. Like,
Yeah, letting the audience run with their own fantasy sometimes creates the most effective horror.
yeah, and just the idea that like it's a almost it's like a myth. Like it's not like a thing that definitely exists in the universe. It may be, but it might all just be
Yes,
drunken soldiers.
well, I don't think of very specific myths right now, but you have these, of course, in the Greek mythology, the Chimera, the Minotaur, in the
Yeah.
more in the Anglo-Saxon folklore, the Jabberwocky, which is also a creature that consists of different parts.
It's just like cryptids and folklore and all
Yeah,
that sort of stuff.
a lot of times it seems very ingrained when you want to describe something that looks off. You just put more something on it. I think it is the uh, I maybe I met this messing this up, but Don Sipthorpe's motto is put more legs on it, or maybe put more eyes on it. Was it something like that? If you want to
Well,
make it creepy, just
my motto is very similar. It's the wrong amount of something. It's not necessarily more, because less works a lot as well. Because like or what is it? It's the wrong amount of body parts or body parts in the wrong place works well. But so like the wrong amount, like obviously a normal human face but with 20 eyes is creepy. But a
yes,
normal human face but with no eyes is also creepy. You know what I mean?
yes,
It
yes,
depends on
yes.
how you
This
sort of
is
yeah.
something Giga's xenomorphs are working with. Also, a
Yeah.
lot of villains that have basically a mask that is nothing but a mirror or something that
Hmm.
shows no facial features. That is disturbing to just to humans. And when I thought about what to talk with you, it brought to my mind that I really disturbed by improportionate huge mouths. Where
Yeah, like yeah, you got to change something, change the size. Like one of my plague bearers, instead of a mouth, has hands, and it's not good. Like it looks creepy, and the same as like even just like heads. Too many heads, creepy. No head, also kind of weird. Like like a creature with no head doesn't look right,
yeah,
especially if it's
let's
a humanoid creature.
I think a very over the top example for that would be your angel, which is, in my eyes, a great use of the wings of the Chaos Fury kit.
The terrible weird monsters from Warcry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's just based on angels.
yeah,
It's
but
like the biblical
that is
depiction of angels.
basically angels, like they are,
Yeah,
like they
they're
are
they're terrifying.
used in the Bible, and it's like, uh, wait a second, this does not look very divine at all.
No, 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 not really.
And taking a turn to there is nothing at all. What I really like that is yes, your uh, plant knight. The is basically a plant
Ah, yes,
grown into a full plate armor, and
yeah. This is an idea I've had for a while. It's something that started in like coming up with ideas for like D&D characters. Um, and just this idea of like the classic like animated armor, the suit of armor that moves on its own, but it's actually just a plant that moves on its own that's grown into the armor, and the sort of vines magically move, which make the armor move. So then I made this guy, and then I came up with this idea of a full, just like a weird royal society of plants that this guy is protecting. And then I just put a bunch of puns in there and called him a hedge knight, and his name is Sequoia, which is a type of tree. Like, just
Yeah, I think this idea plays quite well into the there is not there's something missing, because you have a plant and it is just filling out what's supposed to be there, arms and legs, but when it comes to the head, you have this fuzzy top, and just the looks of it, just like, is it looking at me right now? What is it doing? I have no idea what its intentions are. It's a plant. Plants normally
yeah,
do not walk around. This model creates this, uh, not horror, but a lot of uncertainty.
yeah. It's heavily influenced by, like, honestly, maybe every like fourth or fifth model I post is inspired by an enemy from Dark Souls.
Ah, okay.
A lot of my stuff is not like heavily, just ideas and sort of loose concepts. A lot of it comes from the aesthetic of those games. But there's an enemy that is like a tree enemy that has a big fuzzy head, but it doesn't wear armor. It's just a tree.
Yeah, what also is quite fascinating to me is your Professor Berg, Arch Director of the Saint Bethlehem Sanatorium, which
Yeah,
is
this
a
is
fucking tank.
yeah. It's my take on a Imperial Guard version of a dreadnought sort of idea. Is that this commander's been entombed inside of his tank, and is still somehow alive. Yeah, this is for the No God's Land setting, which I very recently sort of started to get involved in. There's actually a new tank on my desk. I'm just waiting for some parts to arrive for it.
It, there is this screen with, I think it should be a mouth. Is that a mouth?
Yeah, it's his teeth. It's the
Yeah.
idea is that his teeth, his lips have been peeled back. There's like dentist clamps that peel your lips back, and there's speakers on side and a screen that just is a cacophony of like zealous litanies spurring his insane troops onwards. Because the idea is that it's like a penal legion from an insane asylum. War
Oh,
broke out.
okay.
A war broke out, so their Professor Berg Atz installed himself as a warlord and turned his patients into weapons. That's the loose backstory for
What a very
my war
40k thing
band
to
for
do.
for No God's Land. That's my war band.
A more technical question: how did you paint the mouth? Because I like how blurry it is, but also you can see the little details, and it really gives the impression of an old and a very old TV setup. Or
Yeah, there's a very good reason for that. It's because I cheated. I got a photo of I don't know what I typed in, but I basically Googled photos of disgusting teeth, put it into Photoshop, added a filter to make it look like an old TV, and then printed it out really, really small and glued it on.
and that's all the magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not painting that. I'm actually not much of a painter. If you look at especially my recent stuff, you'll notice there are no details. There's not any like line work. It's mostly done with dry brushing and sort of contrast paints and glazes. I get very bored with painting very quickly.
E- yeah, what you might be a little bit harsh on yourself there, I might say, because if we look at your entry, a very early entry of the unofficial fifth member challenge.
Ah, yes. Well, that again, it's also because it's a one-off. I'll put in the effort because it's a one-off. If I was doing an army of these, it wouldn't be anything like this. It would be all silver.
Okay, so you put in the extra effort, and of course it shows, and the blue screen in front is
Yes.
a
Well, yeah,
gr
when I say get bored, it's not on one model. It's if I have to paint a similar, like the same scheme more than once, then it has to be simple. I can't paint this a detailed model more than once, basically.
yeah.
It's just
I recognized this for myself that cannot really batch paint anymore. I as a Turnip and former, maybe soon again orc player, you have to, well, have
yeah,
a method down to blitz through your miniatures. And if what was it? I think it was the Nighthaunt, the Chain Rasp Nighthaunt, and
mm,
I found out so quickly. I was like, okay, now I'm doing the step on Dude 4, and I was like, okay, I have to finish these four now and take a break because I
yeah.
cannot do it anymore. Even with very simple techniques like, okay, let's spray, dry brush, shadow. Even with the most simple of technique, I'm very quickly exhausted of batch painting.
Mm. Yeah, because like you mentioned orcs, and I've got a fairly decent orc army. It's speed freaks. I had a lot of fun like making vehicles and stuff for the orcs. Um, if you scroll far back on my Instagram, you'll see some photos, but I've hardly put up any of my orc stuff. But the reason I have a bunch of them sitting there unpainted, and I stopped painting because I just got bored of painting all the like the little belts and buckles and weird satchels and stuff they've got. It's too much stuff, which is why I like my spawn. It's like you do the flesh and it's done. Like there's you got like maybe some horns or whatever, but they're essentially one coat of paint.
Yes, and then you can very basically what I did, what I'm still struggling with, but I think I found out for myself that it does not work that well, is using a lot of blending and with wet colors, not using oils, but work with not dry colors and make a blend there, and what one might call the blanjitsu. The miniature itself looks more like a painting and not like a
Yeah,
painted miniature.
yeah.
And I, I really want to do it, but and I did one, but after it was done, I was like, okay, I'm totally unhappy with this. Why?
Yeah. Well, I do a bit of wet blending. Like that's how I do on my spawn, the transition from the fleshy color to the sort of black color on their extremities. Um, that's wet blending. But yeah, I could never like I know what you mean, like painting like it's that painterly style of like wet blending like highlights and shadows. That's so far out of my like interest, not a comfort zone, like interest zone. Like I don't care enough to have my models look like that. I do not have the patience for that.
Yeah, I think that is um, always something when someone asks me for for my opinion on how to paint something, and my first question is, what do you want to reach? What kind of level of painting do you want to reach? Can you always take shortcuts? Uh, Never feel
Yeah.
ashamed of cheating. Or call it cheating, like you did with the mouth of the good professor. It is
Oh, I
it.
I I cheat all the time on my stuff. Like the people have given me compliments on my spawn for like the texture on the skin. That's just tissue paper and PVA glue. Like that's not me being a cool sculptor and sculpting this disgusting skin. That's all it is.
Well, when you get
I-
the results, it is in my eyes a legit technique
Yeah,
one can use, and of course can replicate. I
it
mean, why?
works. And it's essentially free. Like I have glue, I have tissues. Like
Why not?
yeah, I mean everyone has glue, everyone has tissues. Like yeah,
So I might already be through with all I mean, I could gush about everything you put up, and maybe we can dip a little
Like,
bit in what you did with Tyranids, because this is
yeah.
basically how we got to know each other in the Creature Caster conference. You were popping up talking about your aquatic Tyranids, and I was like, "Hey, I have some. I am totally not interested into painting. Can I ship them off to you?"
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. And
Um,
when I found out that you're
I
in Australia, all the more.
keep meaning to get back into the Tyranids, but I just, chaos will always be my
First love.
yeah. The other thing, and as much, I don't want to be and don't tend to be the sort of person who like chases likes on Instagram. I would never pick something. If I had two projects, I would never pick something purely because I know it will get me more likes. But when you put up two pictures and one gets more likes than the other, you feel more motivated to continue work on that project, which I think is just a natural human reaction.
Yeah, the little
It's not,
boost of gratification.
yeah, like my Tyranids, they get like 50 likes, 80 likes, but my Spawn get like 200 likes. And I'm not putting out more Spawn because I'm like, oh, this is what the people want. It's because people want it motivates me to go, oh, I should think of more Spawn. Whereas the Tyranid sort of fell away. I have a few sitting there that I need to finish. Because I got to start collecting the what is it? The Trigon, I think it is.
Yes, Trigon, I
I,
think a brood of
big guy.
G-Stealers are in it, and
Yeah,
something else.
I struggle with the Tyranid names for things because they're not descriptive. Like they're just gibberish. They don't mean anything to me yet because I haven't really,
Yeah, they
you know.
have. Well, let's take
I'm
a
used to
Latin
I'm used to
word
playing.
and
Yeah,
put it in there. Sometimes in a kind of, uh, I maybe they are just straight Latin.
yeah.
I
But it's like even the like weapon names. Like I'm used to playing orcs. It's like
yeah.
burner, shooter. You look at a Tyranid weapon. It's a plasma,
Death,
you know,
death
bio,
splitter.
whatever. You're like, I don't know what
Venom
that
cannon.
means.
What does it do?
Yeah, I have no concept. But yeah, my Trigon, my idea is it's going to have the anglerfish lure, which will be an actual LED like a working LED that can light up.
Ooh, that sounds
Um,
interesting.
and I got a box of what are they? Venom thropes. And then on Facebook, found a guy who was selling. I put out a post on Facebook for anyone who had spare Venom throat tentacles for people who'd built the whatever the other ones you can build from that box.
Zoantropes.
Yeah, and a guy who lives not too far away from me had a box of like 40 of these tentacles.
What?
So I'm just making I started making venom thropes with having like enough tentacles to be considered an octopus or a squid or something.
I I was yeah, I was just thinking about. I think spore mines have a lot of tentacles. What you could do with some kind of more more of the floating kind of creature that
Yeah,
uses its tentacles to just feed from stuff off the ground, from the dead and the fallen, or the paralyzed by the venom. That actually would be a much better venom thrope concept, like having some blob that just floats and picks up everything that lies on the ground.
yeah. Well, I was just looking at sea creatures, looking at Tyranids, and I went, "Oh, this one's got tentacles. Yeah, done. That's easy. Like, like that's the easiest one. Just make it a squid." Um, but a lot of the inspiration comes from deep sea creatures. It's been a process of facing I have like a lot of people that like fear of like the deep sea and like the open ocean. Um, is pretty terrifying. So I've been facing my fears a lot of that in that project. Like looking at these horrifying deep sea creatures and having to stop because I genuinely feel ill. for research purposes.
Yeah, that
But
is
I
a
have,
very strong reaction.
yeah, I have ideas for other ones, like card effects that's sort of shark based, or I think it's called like a vampire squid or something like that. I can't remember. But I like
I
playing on fears as well.
I
I did that for my plague bearers. A couple of my plague bearers were based on fears. Like one I did that was it was like trypophobia or something, the fear of like lots of little holes.
Oh
I
yes,
did.
that is a well explored fear in the internet,
Yeah, I
to
did
say the least.
a plague bearer based on that. Um, I'll send you a photo, I guess, if I can find the guy.
Oh, it's not on your Instagram?
It might be actually. Oh, if you scroll all the way to the start,
To
uh,
where your very first. There we have the plague bearer with the skull in his mouth.
yeah, two after that, there's like a black and white photo of like the group of plague bearers.
Okay, so let's throw that. Oh yes, I think I see what you are
If you
going
scroll,
for.
it's the very last picture, the one in the middle.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's got to be a color photo of them somewhere.
I while just watching it now, you could have gone a little bit deeper with the holes.
Oh, yeah, probably. But they once it's shaded and stuff, they
Yeah,
definitely
of
stay
course.
there.
After it's painted, it will probably you get the proper contrast, and then it will look like proper holes.
Yeah, if
Just
you scroll up, you can find the painted ones. They're
uh,
like a fair bit up.
very first impression.
Yeah.
Y- You are one of these people who work on more than one project at once, aren't you?
Yeah, I have many things going at the moment. I have, well, I mean, I've still got, I don't know the last time I put up a Tyranid one, but I still have some Gene Stealers sitting on my desk in a like, being worked on quotation marks area of my models. Got a half finished Necromunda gang from 2 years ago. I've got a couple of Spawn that I'm working on the go because I started work on a fully custom sculpted Spawn. I set myself that challenge. I'm not
Oh
using
yes,
any.
I did see that you were posting the head or something like
Yeah,
the head.
yeah, yeah. So that's all I've got. The head so far, but yeah, the idea is it's just going to be wireframe and green stuff basically. Um, but then I've got a couple of my Swamp Haunt model that I need to paint. I've got a tank. I've got I bought a the Korgorath, the big corn monster.
Oh yes, that one.
Yeah, I have bought one of those to turn into a big spawn, which would count as a Hellbrute.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Yeah, and I have plans. I haven't. Unfortunately, the model is currently out of stock on the website, but it counts as Mauler Fiend, as like a giant spawn. Um, but it's my birthday in a couple of weeks, so I have a couple of kits that I'm going to use for some new spawn on the way. So I have the idea of about the next 3 spawn, so ready to go.
Well, definitely something to look forward to. Especially the one you will free sculpt. I will definitely follow that project
Yeah, we'll see how
because
it goes. It's gonna be pretty basic. Like it's not gonna have. I'm not sculpting hands. I can tell you that much right now. Like that's too far for me. I don't think
that
I'm there yet.
that was hands are a bloody trap. I tell you, I was
Yeah,
pretty
I'm not gonna do
confident
that.
in my
Let's,
sculpting, and then I was like, okay, let's make hands. It couldn't be the oh no, it's hard. It is like I think it's like drawing hands. It is.
yeah, same. Like that's my logic. Is I am a decent drawer and I cannot draw hands to save my life. So why would sculpting be any different? It's an extra dimension, so it's surely harder. Like
Yeah, I for sure fell into that one and pretty fast realized that sculpting hands is not that easy. As I recently found out, sculpting cowboy hats also not that easy if you want a decent looking one.
Yeah. Um, yeah.
Fezzes quite easy and nice looking.
Mm, the next spawn. So after the big spawn and the sculpted one, the next one I'm making is, without going into too many details. I'll just say, because all my spawn have got names. That's another thing I've been working. That's the amount of backstory I give them, is I give them all a name. Well, like it's more of a title, really, I guess. That they have, but it's
That
going to be
is,
called.
for the most of the time, that is enough because
Yeah,
it gives people something to run with.
yeah. Well, this one's going to be called the Blood Eagle. And if you know what a blood eagle is, you could probably extrapolate a loose idea of what it will look like. Um,
Oh, do you mean the Norse punishment or?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
okay, yes, yes. Then I know what you're talking about.
yeah. So that, but a spawn, basically, is the idea.
Yeah, so something is not in order. That is because it is a chaos spawn.
Yeah, when your insides become your outsides.
Yeah. Oh, are you planning to actually turn the lungs into wings?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't
Be-
give away too much, but we'll see what happens. I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
Well,
but what just sprang into my mind was the very moth-like wings of Mortarion, and to have
mm,
some fleshy kind of lung thing. I mean, I adore the work of Simso Miniatures.
yes.
Oh dear lord, Tanner. Tanner is oh god. Tanner, I have not forgotten your name. Please don't be mad at me. He, his sculpting is a lot of flatness, but also a lot of curls and well, flesh-looking stuff, like a ball pit of organs sometimes, and I find that largely
Yes.
fascinating. And I
Yes. I've
think
seen
that is
those.
something one can do with Chaos Spawn quite easily.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I was originally going to do a sort of attempt to make an armies on parade thing for my spawn, but we're currently still in lockdown, and I'll do it next year.
Yeah, that is probably something a lot of people are doing.
But I did. I part of the design is that it involved lots of big, large bones. I was like, what can I use for large bones? I'm like, I don't know, just bones. So I just started eating more like chicken, and then I boiled the bones and cleaned them and stuff. So I have a bag of chicken bones from like wings and legs, just in a bag, in amongst my hobby stuff, waiting for to make some chaos terrain.
Are you familiar with what William Miniatures did?
Yes, that was sort of. I remembered that and went, oh yeah, I'll do that.
The
It's like, what can I use big bones? And I was like, oh yeah, bones, like that.
yeah, basically a he called it a bone garden, also selling resin bones.
Yeah,
It
there was one that was like a lamb's jaw or something as well, wasn't there? I think.
yes,
I know he did one that was like a jawbone
yeah,
with like
something
the
like
teeth.
that, and having little shrines in it, which made it all. It's to make the jump, to make it embedded in something cultural, gives it so much more life. Like you are with the little blurb, okay, this is a creature of folklore. It is basically, if you're turning into a spawn or will be turned into spawn, this creature shows up and takes you with it, and well, you be gone then. And
Yeah, it's the I in my head it's probably less like, not so much chaos space marines and probably more like renegades and heretics sort of things. I can't imagine that space marines sit around telling each other stories, but it's like a sort of chaos boogeyman. Like,
yeah, well, more like in a uh, Space Marines are taking another approach. They are taking a very either barbaric approach, but also they are appear to be very knowledgeable. I mean, in that case, it would be like,
Yeah.
well, if you do not chase the favor of Nurgle, something creature will come and get you, and the other Space Marine just be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
He,
It's,
he
it's,
he probably knows of the creature, but he's totally unfazed by the dread it causes.
no, it's the dumb human fighters
Yeah,
who have somehow ended up aligned in a like chaos regiment, sitting around a yeah an oil
campfire
drum.
telling stories.
Yeah,
And then you also had different approaches to that because so that might be considered by some, let's say it is cultists of the word bearers. Now the creature might be a blessing because now you have ascended to demonhood and are a way better servant of chaos in theirs, and they might be actually praying to that creature to come and get them.
yeah, yeah. I like to think that it doesn't appear in a ship; it just sort of like a portal opens, like it just appears. No one knows where it comes from.
Yeah.
I was thinking of at some point early on. I probably won't do it. I might. Of make the Noctilith crown, the sort of chaos terrain piece, the big ring.
Oh yes, that one. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted
big
to
and
buy that, but
spiky.
I did not. I don't know why.
I've been tossed up the idea of making basically a flesh version of that, which
Oh
sounds
yes, yes, yes. I mean, it is basically the body horror of the Mind Flayer. Not the Mind Flayer, the enslavers. That they basically form the body of a psyker into a portal,
yeah.
and I think maybe the harp, the Slaanesh harp of this.
Yeah. That's
It,
got a kind of Blood Eagle vibe to it as well,
yes,
actually.
yes, very much. Or well, you can use it as a start for a portal, for example. Just sprang to my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities. That is why.
Well, it's sport. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
The possibility is I can do whatever I want. As
uh,
long as it's sort of 50 mil base, it's all good.
yeah, yeah. Do so. Something like let's say a named spawn like Scylla, a Fingrim does not pose any interest to you. It's just like, okay, there's a named one, but why do something with that?
Yeah, well, that's yeah, I don't know. It's just his. I'm not a big fan of that model, to be honest. Is the main reason, but that's about it, really.
All its
That's the,
iterations or a specific one?
I haven't really looked into it that much, to be honest. I've seen a couple. I've seen two, I think. I think yeah, I think this is my own sort of thing, because he brings his own
Yeah,
baggage, I guess. He's
yeah,
got his own
yeah.
story,
The
which is
the
very,
the attempt of
a very.
what is horror, and that does not fit with your idea of horror.
He's got his own story, which is a different story, I think.
Well, he's just a fallen champion of corn. This is.
Yeah. But that's the thing. He's gone off and done his own thing. He wasn't whisked away by some terrifying creature.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as I said from the start, chaos spawn sometimes is just either the gods say you disappointed me, now you're a chaos spawn, or I'm very pleased with you, now you're a chaos spawn.
I'm very pleased with you here. Have another tentacle, but 20 times.
Yeah,
They do that.
like
Well,
that.
the whole thing, because Spawn are most often associated with Zinch, and I mean, who knows what that guy's thinking? Like, whether it's a blessing or a curse, you have no way of telling. So yeah, that's my sort of thinking with this is that it's most likely Zinch based, purely because it's Spawn, and that's it. Like it's only there's nothing actually Zinch about it, but it's just that's probably what's happening because it's a band of Spawn. It's not going to be Slanesh.
Well, Spawn in my eyes are uh, well, basically when they turn Spawn, undivided chaos now. It is like okay,
Yeah, yeah, they are.
there is nothing anymore. One can you cannot put logic there anywhere. All the logic is gone. All the science is gone. It is pure chaos now. So
Well, that's my logic with the Black Shepherd is that it's kind of like that named one whose name I can't remember, Skylar or whatever. Yeah, he still has some semblance of intelligence. Like he's not just a jabbering mutant like most Spawn are. And I like to think that he somehow like that's how he whisks them away. Why no one ever stops him from taking the Spawn is because they'll have a cage with a Spawn and it's just this crazy beast chewing the bars. This thing appears and the Spawn calms, walks over to him like a loyal servant, and then they disappear into the night. And everyone's like, okay, well, that thing clearly knows what it's doing, so we'll let him take it, I guess.
it is the circle of chaos.
That's sort of a Spawn whisperer kind of vibe.
Yeah. Well, how many chaos spawn do you count before you fall asleep? I don't
Yeah.
fall asleep at all when I do that. It is my reason to be awake. Count chaos spawn.
You have weird dreams when you count Chaos Spawn to go to sleep.
Yeah. So why Nurgle?
I don't know. It's just something about it. I mean, I did Death Guard, stopped doing the hobby, got back into it, did a few things, and somehow still managed to get back to Death Guard. And then also I now have more Nurgle demons than I have Death Guard. I don't know.
Are you happy with the new model line of Death Guard?
I like it, but I have like 30 Poxwalkers. Each one is unique. I can't have duplicate models in any of my armies, so I have hella Poxwalkers. But I finally got around. I had like 1,000 points of Death Guard before I bought a box of Plague Marines because I had all like vehicles and demons and name characters and stuff. And I started painting. I realized that I can't paint them. It's the same thing as the orcs. There's just too many random bits of cloth and bags and too many details for me to actually paint them. I like them, but it's too many for a thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do understand you, and you are probably at that point where you are saying, okay, I have to paint them properly or not at all.
Yeah, there's no point for me of doing like a battle ready 3-color, thing.
A very, very, very basic approach because
Yeah.
you know, and when you pick it up, you're like, oh, there is this badge that is the same color as the skin.
Yeah, because I'm not much of a gamer. I
Okay.
really am in the hobby as a creative sort of thing. I do it because I paint models instead of painting on a canvas. So it's pointless to sort of not paint them properly because that's the whole point of the hobby for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes
half,
that
half,
that ma-
half painting them or painting them like in a very basic, battle ready as they call it scheme, with the equivalent of someone who's really into the crunch and the rules and playing the game and just leaving it like turn 3.
yeah. That I. It is what it is right now. I'm not happy with the rule set that
Well, the
Games
hobby is
Workshop
different for
offers.
everyone. It's never been about the rules for me, really. I've never
Yeah.
been. I mean,
Well,
I love playing, but it's just not my number. It's not my main reason why I do it.
Well, the trouble I'm running into with the okay, I paint more and enjoy and painting more and kit bashing and converting and learning a bit of modeling more. What comes with it is I am a person that finishes one project and then moves on to the next. I cannot multi. But what happened, of course, is that there are projects that I stopped because I lost the motivation and now they are there. with their
Hmm.
accusing stares or non-stares. And yes, either I finish them or I do not touch them at all. It
Yeah,
is not a pile of shame, but a pile of dread right now. I'm very, very glad. One of the positive things of the pandemic is I worked through a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, and also had for a long, long time, especially the Chaos Spawn that I finally painted after 14 years. But well, coming with the principle of paint it or don't paint it at all, there are some kinds of traps you can fall into.
yeah. Well, I always have multiple, not only multiple projects and armies on the go, but like I'll paint multiple things at once. Like, or Scott, like the other day when I did some green stuff work, I did the last bit of green stuff I needed for the that shrine one that I just did. I did a little bit of green stuff work on the head for the sculpture, and then the leftovers I put onto a secret project that I'm currently working on.
Ooh.
Just get
What a great finish. That's
yeah.
luring that
I there's a secret project. It's just a single model, just as a test of a proof of concept for if it works, will be the most disturbing, uncanny valley thing I've made so far.
what a great announcement to the end of this podcast. We blasted through an hour. Thank you so much for your time. I
Oh,
hope
anytime, buddy.
I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I sure did. And I wish everybody a great time. And again, thank you. And
Thank
I
you.
say until next time.
Yeah, definitely.